Everyone, welcome back to DesignerCon Stage 2024 for our final panel interview of the day. How's everybody doing? Nice. I've been joking that this is kind of like the DCon bus stop. People just kind of come, chill out, wait for the next thing. Today I'm joined by Kim Caldwell, who's the creative director of Meow Wolf here in Las Vegas. How you doing, Kim?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Dude, super excited to be able to pick your brain for the next little bit. You have such an interesting job at Meow Wolf, and there's so many different ways this can go, but I think where I'd like to start is just how important experiential entertainment is in 2024. As we're seeing the landscape of the economy change and retail change, it just really feels like you guys are on the forefront of where so many entertainment companies are going. As we're seeing, streaming platforms doing one-off pop-ups, we're seeing different experiences that kind of travel around the country. But Meow Wolf is the OG DIY, independent, keeping it locked down in the same locations. And I would love to just jump in there right now on the importance of this is a space that people trust, that keep showing up, and I think you guys keep inspiring not only guests, but the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's super true, and I think a lot of that is due to our DNA and our roots as a fine arts collective.
Right.
So, in terms of industry and where we come from, the way I talk about our exhibit, which at Las Vegas is called Omega Mart, is our second permanent exhibition that Meow Wolf has put up. We really were born from a group of DIY installation artists that felt like they had no place to show their work in Santa Fe, in that art market, which is very commercial. And I think that really shines through. And they had a real aspiration to create something that was really, we talk about it in this wordless invitation to play and explore in our worlds and to kind of shape your own journey with it. It's something that when I first heard about Meow Wolf, before I worked for them, I just thought was so incredibly cool. And being a fine artist myself, I was just really attracted to this notion that they were bringing installation art into a place that was fun and honest and authentic, and there was none of that heady conceptual barrier that people sometimes feel when they're going into a museum and seeing installation work. So I think you couple that sort of that idea and that philosophy of making art and installation in our DNA, along with a time when during the 2010s, as people got more and more on their phones and started more and more scrolling, and the algorithms started really switching to try to keep us captivated on our phones. It's we offered this counterpoint to that, where you could come and experience something that was familiar to your everyday life, but also wildly different. And as a result, really tapped into your inner child, your curiosity, that ability to feel like you can play.
I mean, it's interesting that there are no rules. You come in and you can consume it at whatever level you want to.
I mean, you can't use the fire extinguishers. There are a couple of rules.
But largely, it's not like a tour guide explains to you where you're going and what you're doing,
Right.
And in many ways, I kind of feel like it's kind of like The Simpsons. Some people watch it for the social commentary, and some people watch it because Homer bangs his head on the cabinet door,
Yeah.
And you can literally watch it, consume it, and enjoy it at different levels. And I like that it is very much choose your own adventure, absorb all of it, absorb none of it. We're just happy that you came, and you get to kind of walk around and go through. Has there ever been any indication that people go there and they're a little bit confused and don't know exactly what they bought a ticket for?
All the time.
How do you address that?
We, I think, do try a lot to create a space that is very familiar so you understand how to engage with it, and then we break and kind of shape your reality that way. However, I would say I talk to a lot of people, especially I have to say older folks, who would maybe come, and a lot of times you'll get somebody shows up into our exhibit and they want a purpose or a thing to do. And they'll say what do I do here? What's my job? What's my role? And the best thing we can tell people is that they don't have a job or a mission or a purpose, that they really can do it however they want. And if they're getting lost, they're doing it right. If they are enjoying the art and just taking a bunch of pictures, they're doing it right. If they're diving really deep into our story universe and that fictional world that we've built and kind of layer into our exhibits, they're doing it right. But if they don't want to do either of those things, it's like that's what we're here for. We just, again, we open our arms that way. But we do that, you know, in the way we onboard people and bring them in, everything, like when you get your ticket scanned and they introduce Omega Mart to you. Again, a lot of the cues about like, you're in a shopping mart at first, so you understand how to behave in a shopping mart. Like you can pick stuff up off the shelf, you can look at it, you can put it in your shopping cart, you can buy it. And then, when the cooler portal opens and it seems to go somewhere else completely, you feel, inspired to sort of take that journey as well.
It's interesting because you're giving people a space in their life where they don't have an assigned role. And that's when you realize how many people are very comfortable in the monotony of knowing exactly where they fit in, what they're supposed to do. And so you understand the art of shopping and exploration to the store. But I think other guests kind of inspire the journey. Because then you see somebody come out of the cooler and you go, oh fuck, that's an option? I can go through the cooler? And then you just start to see people kind of following other guests around. I think what really shows though, is that this isn't an extension of a streaming show. This isn't a movie that everybody loves and is coming to your town for a 6-week pop-up. It really does show, like you were saying, that this is designed from the inside out, from an artistic expression. It's all artists, environmental or performance artists that are kind of working together in a collective. And many of us that have been in the art community for a while, you've been to different collectives and you see a good idea, but due to lack of budget and time, it's a little rough around the edges. I feel like Meow Wolf has smoothed off all those edges, and it's really like, it's the ultimate of what if we could do this? Could it work out? You did do it, and it does seem to be working out. So I love that about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. We have in our organization now like a mixture of really like old school DIY artists that are always, trying to figure out how to make the wildest, maximal, like most expressive thing. And we also have a lot of people working in like production design and technical direction that understand that we need to engineer things properly and we need to have things meet fire codes, and like that sort of combined institutional knowledge is getting only like more and more solid. And when you see our expanding portfolio, like our recent exhibit that we just opened in Houston, Texas, like the way that we've been able to kind of walk that line between making something really durable and permanent while it also feels very impermanent and not precious at times, which is a really cool part of our exhibits, is that impermanence. We find ways to preserve that too. That's something I'm really psyched about and proud of.
If we also look at it as a business model, I find it interesting that there's so many different ways it can support itself. There's admission, whether it's a one-time, and there's different tiers, there's memberships, but then there's also the consumer goods, whether they want to go shop next door at the actual easy to understand exit to the gift shop, or if they want to shop from the Omega Mart. Like a lot of that art in there is going to be the first time that a lot of people come to Las Vegas and actually buy a piece of fine art.
Yeah.
And so the way that you guys have also created so many different levels of earning, that to me says that this is something that can go the long haul and that can, support itself. Because when you look at all the different rooms, the different artists you bring in, everything is done at a very top-notch scale. We both know that takes money. So I do love that it feels like something that's, when the grant money runs out, we run out. Like it does seem like it's a for real business that people are going, entertaining, spending money, and able to keep coming back.
Yeah, and I would say like there is a component of that that's a bit of like a happy accident, right? Because when Omega Mart, the concept behind it is we're doing this kind of satirical take on the way that we all engage with capitalism. And so the point of the store, and I think the expectation of the store, was not to sell a bunch, to maximize our profits. We were sort of poking fun, and we continue to poke fun at this absurd company. Like we have this whole fictional entity, Omega Mart, with this whole brand guides, 34 pages long with fonts and types of do's and do nots. And a big tenet of Omega Mart, like a thing that they consistently do, is they're very out of touch with their consumer. And so they have these like hilarious, like disastrous corporate apologies, that just like mean nothing, like say everything and mean nothing at the same time. And the products we sell sometimes just seem like we just have no idea what people want. And I'll give an example of that. A more recent product, created this sandal, and it's called Cage-Free Toes, and it looks like an egg carton that you can slide into a sandal, and it's just like ridiculous, and it's a ridiculous concept. And the cool thing is we work with retail, so we work within these like machinations and systems that traditional retailers work with, but we say like we're going to make this absurd shoe that like is hardly functional but is hilarious, and they like to take chances on that stuff. And you know, me as a creative director, like I always say, like I don't judge every product in the store by how well it sells, because that's, for me, like the experience is the most important thing. But in the case of Cage-Free Toes, like it actually became one of our top 10 sellers, I think. And certainly Omega Mart has sold a lot more product than it even expected. But I think because we stayed grounded in the concept and the satire as like, and the experience being the driver in building it, that was what kind of led to that happy accident of like retail success too. Like people love to engage with it. I just think it's cool and it's unique because it's like we didn't go for like what do people really want. You know, we wanted to make a statement.
Yeah. And that shows through your product development team. It looks like what's a good idea first, and if people love it, we'll make more. And if they don't, it just sits on the shelf because we made room for it. And you know, once again, there's so many crossroads in your business model and in your experience. You know, the obvious one to me is that it's a crossroad of like somewhere the fine art world and the entertainment world have to touch. And I feel like you guys are completely in that crossroad. But at the same time, consumerism and collectability and fine art all have to touch as well, you know? And so just the level of packaging design, graphic design, that's being done not at a client request level, but at an expressionistic, artistic level. Like as somebody who comes from that world, I absolutely love all the time that was put in the packaging, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, one of my favorites is this cereal that we sell, and it's like actual cereal you can buy, and it's called Fruit de Loopholes, and if you look really closely, the picture on the front is actually a photo of a person holding the box. It's like weird, it's like weirdly meta, you know? And it's like every detail of that store is such an amazing exercise in like graphic design and composition, and like you said, art. Like people are buying an art object even if they don't realize it, which is really cool. And yeah, all of our packaging considerations, like we're frequently looking a lot at like the co-founder that I work with really closely. Like we both love Japan, and so we love to like look at like displays in Don Quixote and things like that and see kind of what they're doing. And you know, our ultimate goal is to really mimic authentically our retail store. So a lot of times, like when it comes to the creative direction of the place, as I'm helping kind of steer Omega Mart into the future, it's like we just have to be kind of honest with like what are other stores doing, how are they creating their displays, how are they doing their packaging, and then we just be playful with that.
Yeah, because the storytelling of it is one of the things that I find to be most fascinating, because you can come in there once again and enjoy it at a surface level. But I was lucky enough that you gave me a walkthrough and kind of explained some of the story beats and how it all ties together. And you did what every great storyteller does. You buried the ending, you gotta go and discover it, it's not right in front of you, and there's levels to it. You know, the story goes so deep that some people may never even get close to the end, but it's there in case they're that crazy and they wanna dig that hard and get there. Let's talk a little bit about when you bring new artists in. How does that process work? You say, here's the parcel of land that we're giving you inside of our ecosystem. Here's some story beats that are kind of around you, play in that space. Like how much of a brief do they get to figure out how their individual story works with the story around them?
Yeah, we have several models for the ways that we collaborate with artists, both internally and externally. My favorite is the model we use most frequently for external artist collaboration. The way that will frequently work is because, again, at our roots, we're ultimately, like, you can think of us like a group art exhibition. And one of our goals is to really provide a platform for local artists to also express themselves and to really make the art that they want to make, and is like true to their expression, right? So the way we'll engage frequently with an external artist is we will say something like, hey, we love your work, like maybe you're an amazing like paper mache sculptor, and we have this room, here's the size of the room, here's the spaces around like what's kind of adjacent to you. Here's your design fee, your materials fee, what you have to work with. Can you create a proposal for us? But we actually tell them purposely to stay away from our story world.
Interesting.
And the reason is kind of twofold. One is we really like in our maximalist style, I think we love a good counterpoint in our exhibition. So we love for you to walk from one space to the next and see something wildly different. Like, you know, in 1 minute you're in like a room that's all about projection mapping, it's very technical, and then you step into like a very soft, like, you know, everything is made out of wool and it's like soft sculpture and it's hanging from the ceiling, it's lit beautifully. So to be able to step through all of those worlds in this like kind of kaleidoscopic multiverse we talk about is really supported by that group art vibe. And the second reason is that we have a really cool functional model that we use that I'm really proud of, where we allow a lot of the external artists to retain the IP to the copyright that's expressed in their work. So I'm not a lawyer and I can't like exactly explain this, but what it essentially means is like we commission the artwork from the artist, but they don't have to worry about like if they want to sell merch based off of that concept and they want to make derivatives based off the concept, they can continue building in that line, and that is like explicitly done to like protect and support artists, and also to give them the freedom to not worry that they're gonna like kind of lock themselves out of being able to do something in the future. So that's like really cool, and that's why you get such wild variation between the spaces.
Yeah, that's a great business model where it's not like, oh, I'm going to make this thing for them, and if it hits, then it's, you know, in all the different merchandise, and I gave it away to them for basically nothing. I love that. I also enjoyed some of the different keyholes that exist inside of the exhibit. I liked going in and out of the little dwelling spaces, and what I really enjoyed is like when you were inside of one of those little homes and looking out, the way that the doors and the windows would frame, like in that glimpse, all you can see is that universe. And I love that moment of being fully enclosed in a story in a world not like the one we live in. And I enjoy that there's plenty of those moments, even upstairs when you go into the offices and you shut the door for a moment. That's the only existence that you know. That's so great. Yeah. It's rare that we get to experience that.
It's cool, and certainly there's a lot of really awesome sight lines in our exhibit where things kind of line up and compose themselves, you know, based on where you're standing and where you're looking, or like you said, for a moment you're shut away from all of that, you're in a totally isolated space. It's really cool, and it's definitely a kind of a core feature of Meow Wolf that we just provide this crazy variety of, you know, confined spaces, open spaces, low ceilings, tall ceilings, rough spaces, soft spaces, you know.
So you're a sculptor, that's your discipline in the world of art. I have nothing but respect for that discipline because it's the one I can't do at all. Illustrator, printmaker, designer, I understand all of that stuff. But sculpting is just like, man, how you mold things and add and subtract, like my brain just doesn't work that way. And I think with you being the creative director, that discipline probably works well for you because the overall footprint is one giant sculpture, right? Like you have a determined space, and you're constantly molding and sculpting how that space works and flows together. Do you find that your art discipline is something that you lean on a lot for your creative director position?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I also lean a lot on my own experience with Meow Wolf as a fine artist. So before I started working in this current role, and Meow Wolf commissioned me as an external artist to create a sculpture for the exhibit.
Oh, that's great.
And I was working at the time with dioramas and miniatures, and I was also doing occasionally like short stage works, you know, 5-minute choreographed pieces. And so I really enjoyed like kind of like sculpting, like at both the installation and performative level, like the more macro level, and then also the micro level, like the miniature in the world. So, you couple that with like I had such a positive experience in the way that they gave me so much creative freedom, and they really trusted my voice, and they gave me a prompt that was inspiring, you know, that I really aspire in my role as there's like new opportunities for new artists to say, hey, like what are you interested in, what do you want to say, and to just kind of push them to create something like even wilder than they imagined they could make. And then my job is to sort of like just help contextualize that in the overall picture, you know, so that people, when they're coming through our exhibit, get that like kind of balance between the macro and the micro, and are able to like step back and take in the whole space, and that feels really like solid and beautiful, and then they can also like zoom into the details.
It's got to be great though that you started with the company as an artist that was hired to come in. So you know the intimidation of that. You know that like I got to do my best work. You really know so many of the major emotional and creative touch points, so that when you're working and onboarding another artist, you're like, I've been here before. I know how it flows. Like I'm not just doing this from a theoretical perspective. Like I've been you, and I want to make this as easy as possible for you.
Yeah, I spent also 3 months on the installation team for Omega Art. So I was not part of the original creation team.
Right.
My role now is to really help shepherd its operation and creative future. But when the exhibit was first created and built, I was hired to just be on the ground and help install a lot of the work. And I was also really struck at the time by how much creative freedom and trust they gave me. You know, it was not just like, Kent, go execute this thing, because sometimes we needed to do that. But if there were opportunities, and that's what's another such a cool thing about Meow Wolf, is like, we wait until we install, and we go in and we see these like bare places on the walls or these things that feel underserved, and we actually hold resources like money and time to what we call like frosting. So we attack those areas and we create new moments of art that we didn't even put into our planning or design process. And I experienced that firsthand when I was on the ground installing, and I experienced also the level of trust that the creators, directors like instilled in me and empowered me with. So that's something that is like really powerful for me, and something that I use as a heavy guiding philosophy for when I work with artists.
It's really inspiring to see something that is so creative centric be successful. You know, like normally people would think that these are obstacles that work against success because you're working with a different part of the brain. You know, can people that think this way, can they make deadlines? Can they manage the books? Can they keep it all going? So it's I don't know, it's just such an interesting space to go into and see how well it's doing, which kind of gets into the thought of Area 15, right? Does Area 15 exist if social media doesn't exist?
I don't know.
I mean, you know?
What do you think?
I mean, I don't think it does. I feel like that whole space is an ecosystem that is a product of where we're at now, you know? I feel like in the FOMO generation, people want to go experience things, but they also want other people to see them experience things. And so that entire area, as I'm walking around looking at it, I go, this is one of the positive byproducts of living in the social media age. And I think the best compliment I can give you all is that people go in there because they want to do it, they want to brag about it, they want to say they experienced it, so that is part of the FOMO. But when we were in there, nobody was on their phones. It was one of the first times in a long time that I saw tons of adults playing, interacting, discovering. The only people I saw on their phones were taking photos, and that's an extension of creativity. I didn't see anybody doom scrolling. So it was very ironic to me that something that social media feeds actually was a social media killer, and I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, Area 15's whole premise, of which we are the anchor tenant, is an experiential shopping mall, if you will. You know, so they try to curate like businesses that offer an experience of some kind. So for us, like you said, a really cool thing that happens is people do share the capturable moment. We're going through the portal together. You know, look at this beautiful piece of art. I mean, we get so many photos of places like the Infinitizer and the Light Tunnel and some of these like iconic Omega Mart spaces. But at the same time, like you had noticed, we were in the Dramport office area, which is like a heavy narrative zone. Like nobody was on their phone. They were like digging through emails and looking at plates and like investigating and exploring.
They were having fun.
Yeah.
They were working together with strangers, because it's not an escape room where you're with your 8 people and you're separated from everybody else. And it was a real communal experience. And I think after everything that's been going on lately, I really enjoyed seeing the communal experience and all kinds of different people. Las Vegas brings people in from all around the world, and everybody was just kind of going through this thing, being like, what the fuck is this? Like, how far can I take this adventure? And it just was, it was interesting to me because I know a big part of a place like Area 15 is to capture, you know, and to share. And for that moment, everybody was just living. And that was a very interesting moment.
Yeah, I'll say too, we've got one of our art pieces in anchor space called Factory. We've got this music machine that's up on the upper levels, and its premise is pretty simple. It's like a 4-sided pyramid structure, and then there's like kind of bizarre buttons, and sort of they look like glyphs or something on each side. But it's a really easy, like you just touch the buttons and you start making music and beats and patterns, and some it's individual notes. Sometimes you're layering like soundscapes, and the cool byproduct of that is you get a lot of strangers playing together, which is a really, really cool thing that we can offer, and something that I'm like always interested in amplifying. Are those moments where we create like really simple setups, but the result is people are all of a sudden making music together and they don't necessarily know each other, and it's maybe just for a moment or for a long time. It's really special.
Because it's so intelligently packaged, one of the things that also hit me is this might be the first time in a long time, the first time ever, or maybe a once in a lifetime that somebody actually goes into an art gallery and experiences an art gallery and an art exhibit, but it's not labeled like that. Because if you're like, hey, what do you want to do today? We're in Las Vegas, you get into anything. You want to go to an art gallery? Fuck no, I don't want to do that. But there, it's like, hey, you want to go do this wild thing? Like a friend told me about, it's kind of crazy, like it's this weird store, and you kind of go in these caves and stuff. Yeah, I want to check that shit out. You know what I mean? And it's the difference of the packaging that makes it like, it is just as important as any gallery we would walk through, but it's that level of play and fun and how inviting it is. That once again, it's that crossroad, it's kind of disguising itself. Is it just a theme park display, or is it an art gallery? I don't know, it's up to you. How did you discover it today,
Yeah, totally. And I think, man, it's like, I like to say it like frequently, we trick people in a way to go see installation art without having to go see installation art. Right.
Because if you're like, hey, you want to go see a bunch of installation art? Nah, man, I'm good. You want to go to this weird store that doesn't really exist? I'll check that out. It's just the difference of packaging.
And, it's a subtle but important part of our branding that we create these, we call like a wordless invitation to play. And it's really important to us that we're compassionate and non-judgmental, because if we're doing our job right, we're really having folks come through who weren't expecting it to go, wait a minute, is this art? Is everything around me art? Is the whole world art? Am I art? And if their sense of self and what is possible is expanding as they experience our exhibitions, then we know we're doing it right.
Yeah, I think it sits in the marketplace in a very unique spot that it could be one of the very few times some people ever actually experience the arts. And I think because it seems more like an experience, and in a city where people are used to paying for experiences, like a lot of the major casino and hotels, they have an anchor experience where it's like, do you want to stay at the Luxor? No. But they got the Titanic there and you care about the Titanic. So in many ways, this is a city where people are open to doing those type of things, which I think bodes even better for getting, the first time customer in there to understand it. So I want to give you guys a compliment because I see something that would be very easy to go down. Your space looks like a tremendous marketing opportunity. And I could see lots of real brands being like, can we do a collab? Can we have our weird Coke Zero Oreos in your store? And I didn't see any of that. And I was looking around to see if I could find any outside like marketing to see if that was part of the business model. And it seems like you guys are like, no, we do our own thing.
Yeah, Omega Mart is such a nuanced and particular sub-brand in our fictional universe. So we really honor that and stay true to its core tenets and values and its way of product making and stuff. So yeah, ultimately not everything is a good fit. We do have awesome collaborators and partners throughout our portfolio, and we've worked with a lot of really cool artists for Omega Mart products. We've got Carlos Medina, who sells a blue chili that is one of our sauces in our aisles. So we have different collaborations with artists if you look for us, but we're not really wanting to tap into as much the brand.
And that's interesting because those emails have to exist. Those requests have to come in. There's no way people haven't walked through there this is the perfect spot to launch whatever bizarre thing we want to do. But I wouldn't cast judgment on you if it did happen, because I could see the appeal of it. But to me, it was just it sold it even more that it was collaborative in an art space. And like I said, we've all been to art spaces where there's really good intentions, but the time and the budget wasn't there. You guys happen to have the time and the budget, so I feel like it comes together.
Yeah, and just to say, it's not that we say hard no to that kind of stuff. If the fit's right, then it can be a good fit and a good thing for the store. But ultimately, we're always going to first look to where can we find opportunities for artists, like individual artists, right? Like even that extends to if we're working on a piece kind of beyond the grocery store, like a bigger sculptural moment. Even one of our scenic techs, Connor, who's here right now, he just completed a new diorama sculpture for us in the exhibit, which is really freaking awesome. And you know, like I guess like many entertainment analogs might say, okay, we've got this space here, we've got this idea, we're gonna hire a vendor. And so there's gonna be artisans and artists that are making the work that's gonna go in, but it's ultimately gonna be contracted through a vendor. And that's something that I guess we all try not to look to first, right? We look to like, is there a local artist, internal or external to our company, who would be a good fit for this space? And can we give them a platform?
Let's talk about how important Meow Wolf is as a proof of concept, right? Because I'm sure when they were doing the first location, there was a lot of, you want to rent our building to do what? You know, and I feel like what you guys have been able to do with Omega Mart and with the rest of the display is you now have a strong proof of concept to do like what you did in Houston or to go into other markets. And I think now there is a way for you guys to be like, this is who we are and what we do. And if you still don't understand it, come on out to Las Vegas and walk through it and explore it. But that has to be so important for it as a company because it is, if you were just to explain this to somebody, and it was first explained to me by Alex Pardee. He's like, you ever been to the one in Arizona? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was telling me all the details. I'm like, that sounds wild. And I still didn't really get it until I saw it, you know? So it's gotta be great that you guys now have this proof of concept that allows you to like, we're kind of a creative firm. This is what we can do. And when you're trying to open new doors, it's gotta help to have that in the portfolio.
Yeah, it's funny when I talk with some of the original founders and the kind of OG Meow Wolfers, they laugh and say like, we still have like no idea how to explain ourselves, like, you know, verbally. Like it's like such a weird thing to try to articulate like what we're really going after. So it is cool that we can take people through our space, and we certainly do a lot of times. You know, if we're looking at perhaps signing a prospective deal or working on a lease or a new site, like the LA exhibition, which is going to open sometime in 2026 is what it's planned for.
Very excited about that.
Yeah, super cool. When that was, you know, when it talks, like a lot of times we have to just bring those folks through a space like a benchmark. Yeah, to see it. So that is cool.
Yeah, because it's like, it's such a clever idea, but it can get lost in translation. And they maybe don't understand it until they actually see it and experience it.
I want to say too, like we actually, it's like really cool in our origin story. There's a cool origin story of Meow Wolf you can watch on YouTube. But we owe a lot of that to George R.R. Martin, actually, the author of Game of Thrones. So if you don't know the history of Meow Wolf, he is a Santa Fe local, and Meow Wolf was working on these group exhibitions at the time, sort of made a name for themselves, but they really got his attention, and he was their first sort of angel investor. He bought them a bowling alley, they gutted it, renovated it, and it became the House of Eternal Return, which is our first permanent exhibition, still open to this day. So, you know, I always like to think like he really took a chance with Meow Wolf and like them kind of explaining, okay, you're gonna buy this ticket, it's gonna look like an extraordinary house, it's gonna be crazy and different, and he supported them, and from there, you know, it really was able to take off.
It's great that he gave it momentum to turn Pinocchio into a boy, but the fact that it's such a good idea is it can now stand on its own, or at least it seems that it can stand on its own.
It speaks for itself. Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of like really great ideas that got angel funding, but it only went as far as the funding went because it couldn't stand on its own. So I think that says a lot about the creative team that they were able to not only keep. How long has the one in Arizona been going for now?
It's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's been open since 2016.
So we got 8 years there, and we got what, 2 years here in Vegas now?
We opened in 2021, so I think we're coming up on 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a pretty good track record to have two very abstract projects that you're holding down. To have, you know, hundreds of people that come in and out the door 365 days of the year.
And the more that our exhibitions are open and we're learning about them, we're able to say, like, this is our average admission ticket, these are the returns, so the people, you know, that are investing in our company get a better sense of kind of what they can expect.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important part of art, right? I mean, you can have all the world's greatest ideas, but you have to be able to have the funding in the project management to make deadlines and to build things. And so I'm just as fascinated as the business model of it as I am the experience of it, because it is so unique in the fact that it is a business that's able to run, and it's not just like a bunch of weirdos doing something weird and hoping that it'll work. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of weirdos there,
Yeah.
but it looks like a legitimate business model, and that part is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, it's really crazy and impressive that Meow Wolf has been able to really show them and to really make or kind of articulate a business model that makes installation art profitable.
So how do you deal with challenges? Like, you guys have big imaginations. I'm sure not every idea, that's a great idea, but we can't pull it off. Like, what are some of the challenges of your position in general? Like, how do you kind of overcome those?
I think one example I could give is that the store, Omega Mart, having a lot of art products and like really emulating a big box retail store, we're not. You know, we're only one location, and we want to like ostensibly offer things for sale, like cereals and big bags of potato chips and things that you would find in any grocery store. But people who are experiencing the exhibition and they're traveling, they're not necessarily going to take that stuff home. So things move like at different rates than a normal grocery store would. So sometimes products move slow. Sometimes that means the retail team is struggling to keep them in inventory, and we have to make really hard decisions sometimes about, well, this product is really experientially strong, so like let's keep it in the store and kind of like fund its continuation, or no, let's phase that one out and try to find something else that's a good fit for the store.
How many SKUs or products do you have in the store?
Man, it must be hundreds, but
It's
I'm not
insane.
sure. There's a ton.
And you bring up a good point. Like, it looks like all of that product would exist at countless other stores. Like, it looks like a CVS or a small section of a Walmart. Like, there's inventory everywhere. But all that inventory was just made for that one spot on that one
Yeah,
shelf.
we sell deodorant, we sell toothpaste, we sell cereal. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there has to be hundreds of products in there, and they're constantly coming and going, right?
Yeah. We've got like real shampoo, bath salts, we have lots of plushies and little toys, lots of sauces and condiments. We have tons of stuff, and yeah, it is a constant flux. I mean, sometimes like a vendor will just say, they'll just stop carrying this particular like white label deodorant that we've been using. We'll have to pivot and try to find a solution if we really want to keep it on the shelf.
And for all my physical product developers or designers that are listening, there are a lot of rules when it comes to selling products, especially if it has anything to do with food or, you know, so I'm sure you guys also we're trying to push the boundaries of creativity, but there's also Johnny Law where it's like, you technically have to say this or that on the package.
Yeah.
Like, was there a learning curve on figuring out like what you can actually get away with?
I mean, I think that is like an example of just a collaboration with our legal team. So we come up with our designs and our packaging, and they make sure like, you have to save space for the nutrition facts. You have to save space to say that it's an actual hot sauce. You know, if you want to call it something else crazy, sure, you know, but you got to make sure that's there somewhere. So
somewhere you have to give the gag away.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but
Not
that's
all
also
the
part
time.
of the design challenge, right? Like,
Yeah.
to put it in there in a creative way so that it doesn't ruin the overall joke or story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Which is what I love about the creative problem solving of packaging design and just graphic design in general. So as we're wrapping up, like, what are your goals for the next year for your position? Like, when January rolls around, do you see it as a new year of new opportunities? Or do you see more of your position of just set up in lots of little chapters because it's always moving and it's constant movement?
A little bit of both. I mean, I think Omega Mart and all of our exhibitions go through phases where we do like kind of bigger swings and bigger like renovations or revamps to zones, and we're also really looking at doing a lot more events and programming, which is a really cool like space that I'm interested in. You know, I come from the performing world too, and I worked with Cirque du Soleil for a long time, and I'm really interested in kind of imbuing our exhibits with this like performance art quality at times. So that's something I'm interested in exploring. I also really am constantly like pushing for Omega Mart itself to be, you know, I think it has a very dynamic quality to it now, but I mean, I really want to see that like amplified times 10, where we're doing like, you know, crazy one-off things, drops, giveaways, and really like keeping that brand like moving at a blisteringly fast paced.
I mean, it seems like it would be equipped to handle the drops and to give people a good reason to come back. It's like, dude, they only made 5,000 of these things. I want to make sure that I go there and I get one of those. Or, they only made 500 of this thing, But I do feel like as a retail space that is in the arts, it's uniquely equipped to handle that kind of like culture base, of getting that community excited about like keeping up with the releases. Not just having it be a surprise, but anticipating what's coming next to Omega Bar.
Yeah, totally.
That I love. So when it's all said and done and you wrap up this wild position you've had as creative director of Meow Wolf, when this part of your life or your career comes to an end, what would you like to say that you accomplished?
I would like, honestly, when I am able to work with an artist and help them shape and push their ideas that they're ultra proud of, excited about, and like didn't even see as like possible in themselves. Like if I'm doing that, like that's where I want to be at, right? That's where I want to come away with like multiple moments like that where I'm equally as astonished at what they're making as, like this way surpassed what was in my brain, what I could come up with, because I have my own independent practice. I am really not interested in like somebody else executing my ideas. I'm really interested in supporting artists and like feeling them like blow me out of the water with, again, something that I didn't even know was possible, and that could never even exist in my brain. That's where you see like the real magic happen, I think.
That is a fantastic mindset for a successful creative director. Like that you're not trying to get them to do your ideas, but you're there to support their ideas. That has to be part of the company culture, right?
I mean, sometimes I feel like I just have to like pick the color of the rock too, or whatever. But yeah, that's the goal for me.
One last one for you. What's your favorite thing that you hear? Like, what are some of your favorite things you hear when you're like dipping downstairs and you're walking through a mega mart or you're kind of cruising through? One part of your brain is like, well, I gotta go check out this thing. Like, you're on a mission, right? Like, you just got an email, you're figuring out a printing logistic, and you're just kind of cruising through. So you're there with a work mindset, not a art entertainment mindset. But you're hearing people talk. Like, what are some of your favorite things that you hear guests say as you're cruising past?
So we have, our staff has a really cool system where we have a gameplay like that people can follow in the exhibit, and if they complete it, we have this like other level of like things that people can do and additional quests and challenges they can go on. And a lot of our staff have really built that stuff from the ground up. So I love when I'm going through the exhibit and I see like a group that's talking to our game master, we call him, and is like really psyched to be like, going on the local artist challenge or doing a kind of scavenger hunt or the GMs guiding them through some of the Easter egg moments that are really hard to pick up on in the exhibit on your own. So I really love like seeing that enthusiasm from those hardcore fans. Like, they've been there for 3 hours and they're like not leaving anytime soon. That's really awesome.
And that's gotta feel good because those are the people that are digging down deep into what you guys are doing. They've been there once or twice. They now realize there's different levels, and they're doing that exploration and just a little bit of like fun escapism in the arts. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I have to thank you so much for walking me through it. It was a once in a lifetime thing to see it through the company's eyes and to see it through your eyes. And just thank you guys so much for what you do. I really can't stress how important I think Meow Wolf is for being an entry point for people to get to experience the arts. Like, you guys have really nailed it in a way where it's like, the best kind of work is when you don't know that you're doing work, When a teacher fools you and it's like, I didn't even realize it was homework because I was having so much fun. Yeah. I think you guys have really nailed that as a way for people to enjoy the arts and not even know that's necessarily what they're doing.
Yeah, so, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me out. I do think